your computer account and use Greg's phone.
How's that?
Okay.
All right, good. All right, so I'm not sure if Brian's going to join us. I know he's seen the notices, so do you want to wait for Brian, or do you want to jump in? Heather has to run out at 10:04, and she's going to follow up in her car phone, but if you want to jump into anything, that'd be the time.
I would get going, Tony.
Okay. Let's see. Why don't we go through the purchase applications first? How's that sound?
Sounds fine, although neither one of them is complete. Is that correct?
Take me off hold.
I didn't know. Oh, I have somebody who's bothering me. Okay, you should be back. Heather jumped in because
Sorry,
so much.
I'm starting to get a
we-
complex.
Are we recording this?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Hi, everybody.
The application for 3325 6th Avenue is very complete, in my opinion.
Oh,
24
okay.
McClellan, the application is in all sorts of spits and spats. And it's probably frustrating the heck out of everyone because I've been forwarding stuff as I get it, as it gets updated. I received what looked like an updated application about an hour or two ago, and I didn't send it to you guys because I knew you wouldn't have time to look at it, and I didn't have time to look at it myself. So I feel that 3325 6th Avenue, that application is in really good shape. I actually told the applicant it was one of the best done applications. It was the best done application I've ever seen in terms of completeness.
The name on that one, Tony, is that the guy from Glen Cove?
Yes, that is Dunphy, Ned Dunphy, D-U-N-P-H-Y. So
Thanks.
let me, sure, let me try to do something here. Let me try to share. See if I can share this. Are you guys seeing that?
No.
Okay. I need to take Zoom lessons. There we go.
Ah,
Oh, not that. Oh my God, it's so frustrating. Okay, I tried to share a screen, but then I lost all you guys, so I don't know how to get this thing done. This is the screen I'm trying to share. Can you see the screen?
yes.
Yes.
Okay. Can you see it in greater detail now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
A day or two ago, 3325 6th Avenue. Do you want me to just run right through this?
Yeah. Yes.
So 3325 6th Avenue, Ed Dunphy, he says he will be the owner occupant of the property, and he understands that it's a commitment for he's apprehensive about the 5-year commitment. the situation is this: his father and he want to move up here from Glen Cove. His father will be here probably for 5 years, but Ned or Ed isn't sure. So I said, well, if you're not sure, don't say that it's owner occupied. So the application reflects that it's not going to be owner occupied, but I thought I'd give you that background information.
All right, well, the real issue with that is all our properties are 5-year no flip. Making it not an owner occupied doesn't change that. So what he needs to know is there's going to be a 5-year no flip restriction on any property, and that if he wishes to, the 5-year doesn't apply to owner occupied. How do I explain this? It doesn't matter if he occupies it or he doesn't. So the 5-year no flip is on every property we sell. Therefore, if he wants to sell the property, if that's his concern, then he can come back to us for permission. But whether he lives in it or not doesn't have an effect on the 5-year no flip.
So in the conversations I've had with him, they don't intend to flip this. They intend to keep it for long term and use it as base of operations because they want to move up and do more things in Troy. So I really don't think the 5-year no flip provision is going to be any kind of a barrier to them. I'm sure of it. One of the things, this is a 1-family building right now. If you read all the detail, they contend that the building was originally a 2-family, and they show evidence to back that up. They'd like to go to the city and get some relatively minor variances to have it become a 2-family. The father and son would live in one, and they would rent out the other unit.
Tony, I know from going to past zoning board meetings, there's some kind of parking thing that goes along with the number of spaces you have. Would that be in play here?
Yeah, I assume it would. I believe the city requires either two cars per 2 spaces per unit, or 1.5 spaces per unit. I'm not sure current code is, but I would suspect that they would need a variance for parking, possibly lot coverage. But these are all area variances. Area variances are pretty easy to obtain from a zoning board in a situation like that.
Okay.
As far as funding, I was provided 2 financial statements, Ed Dunphy's personal accounts, and the balances in one is enough to cover all the costs of purchase and renovations. And when you add the other one to it, there's plenty more than enough. Project timeline, they're saying they think it will take up to 2 years to complete the renovation. So I know, Kate, that's going to be an issue with you.
It's going to take how long?
They're saying up to 2 years.
Well, you certainly have the discretion to grant as much time as you'd like, but we definitely should have something on the record of why that would take longer than vis-a-vis the next guy. You know what I mean? So that there's equity in the application of our rules.
Okay.
So
I know it was an issue with 48 Ida for you.
Well, that wasn't so much the case as it was that it wasn't being enforced and we didn't have any reports or any timeline. You know, if they're going to take up to 2 years and they're going to regularly check in and they're regularly moving along, that's fine. But, you know, I think the proper thing to do, what my recommendation would be is say, listen, we normally give 12 to 18 months, and we really need you to attempt to complete it. And if for some reason, you need extra time, we could take a look at it then. But, the problem with giving 2 years from the outset is that they may not start work till the 18-month period, and then here we are, right?
Yeah. Okay, we can both touch base with them on that if this is for approval and in fact gets approved by the board.
He didn't actually give a start date, did he, Tony?
He did not.
Right. Okay.
Let's see, I'm trying to think. In the conversations I've had with he and his father, he did say that his father would be looking for a place to rent. Sounded to me like soon, as kind of his base of operations initially, and then once at 3325, his father would move into that unit.
Is this a property that they could even move into that is CO ready?
Oh no.
So how does he expect to live there that soon?
No. What I'm saying is he's going to look for a place to rent that's not 3320.
Oh.
So he's going to look for a temporary housing. So that's the deal. The amount they're offering $14,750. Listed at $5,000.
You're garbly. I can't understand you.
Yeah, you're gonna have to. Whoever's not on mute, that's outside. The wind is blocking Tony out.
That's probably Heather heading to her car.
I am not. I'm sitting right here at my desk.
Oh.
Are you a heavy breather?
No, I haven't moved. It just started all of a sudden. I'm on my AirPods, but maybe I shouldn't bring you to the bathroom with me. All right, hold on a minute. Kidding. All right, putting you on mute. See if that helps.
Okay, so they're offering $15,750. It was listed for $25,000. So this is listed as both owner occupancy, as I explained, and also rental investment because there'll be an apartment if they get the zoning approval. Total redevelopment cost is $106,100. That doesn't include the cost. I don't believe that includes the cost of purchase. That comes out to a square foot cost of almost $51 a square foot. The contractors are this T-EAM Contractors LLC. That's their family's contracting business, and I don't know who all is involved, but I know the father is, the son is, and it sounded to me like there are more partners. So as I said, he has a combined balance out of two credit union accounts of $252,000. The redevelopment cost is $106,100. And I am noting that they will need area variances from the zoning board to convert to two-family use. For the credit check stuff, I blocked that out for you guys because I'm not supposed to share that. And I'm kind of apprehensive to do that on a public media, but I don't think there's anyone else on this, so I think it's safe to say the credit came back as a score of fair to good. It was 2 points below the threshold for good. I didn't see any negative issues except one expense that the applicant disputed, and it was related to student housing rent. So otherwise, there were a couple dings on his credit because he's using one of his accounts as a revolving loan, basically for the construction business, and the credit reporting agency didn't like that. So, so I think that knocked down his score a little bit, but otherwise, it seemed to me that it was in pretty good shape. Let me do this just as a reminder to myself.
So Tony is, shoot, I'm trying to move your page so I can see the address, but for the dump fee purchase, what variances does he need?
Well, what I said before was I think he's going to need an area variance for parking.
Okay,
He may need area variance for lot coverage, not sure. Any variances, he will not need a use variance. Any variances he's going to need are going to be area variances. I will say that the father checked in with code enforcement. Code enforcement told him he would need variances, but also said they would be relatively easy to get. And I would agree with that. So now area variances of this type are really easy to get, especially in the city of Troy.
so that would be for parking only?
Well, it's going to be for parking. There may be other area variances that will need to be approved by the zoning board, but they'll all be area variances. They won't be use variances. So, and I'll say again, area variances are relatively easy to demonstrate the need for, especially in a situation like this. It's especially easy in the city of Troy to get an area variance.
But it's, let's say he doesn't get one, will he not want the building?
I don't know.
Okay, because where I'm going from this, from a contractual perspective, is if they're going to want a contingency that it's subject to approval of receiving the area variances, we certainly could do that, but the question is, do you want to and wait
Yeah.
to close? I mean, provided we have no other applicants, you know, this is all stuff you all have to take into consideration, but you know, this might not close for 6 months because the minute you got to go to planning board, it takes a couple months to get that done. So, you know, I'm just putting all that information out there for you to consider.
And I agree with that. Well, I suppose we could, the choice is in our hands. We could stipulate that he purchased the property and take his chances with the zoning board, or not.
Well, I
Whatever the
wouldn't,
committee.
I don't know that I'd recommend that, because if he doesn't get it and he keeps the property, his whole plan changes, and then we're kind of back to square one. So if
Okay.
we're okay with it, I would, you know, want to improve it with those contingencies that we've got to give him time to do that. We can keep him to, you know, a time frame in the contract, and if he doesn't get it done, then, you know, we're out.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
Tony, I just have one other question, because I don't know a lot about this stuff, but taking a one-family building and turning it into a two-family residence is no big issue in terms of zoning?
Well, there's two kinds of variances that a zoning board grants. There are use variances, which in my personal should be impossible to get. And there are area variances, which are dimensional in nature. So if they needed 4 parking spaces and they can only provide 3, that's a numerical, a dimensional requirement. This would not require a use variance, which is really important because they should be nearly impossible to get. They're not in the city of Troy, but they should be. Area variances are just the opposite. They're relatively easy to demonstrate the need for, especially in this kind of a situation, especially in the city of Troy.
All righty, so turning a one family into a two family is no big deal.
I would be surprised if it was a big deal.
I'm
Uh,
just a little leery because of the density issues. But hey, if you think it'll fly, I'm willing to
Well,
rely on your judgment.
well, that's my judgment, but that's also what was stated by whoever the father spoke to at code enforcement. So,
The property's also in a neighborhood that allows for two families, correct, Tony?
yes. Yeah, there are obviously two families all over the place there. So I'm sure it's zoned for two family and probably more.
Well, okay.
And you know, I'm not trying to advocate. I'm just trying to help you understand zoning a little bit. Which,
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thank you.
So one other. Let's see. Okay. All right. Heather's in transit, so she's hopefully going to be able to stay connected. So the applicant intends to do what they call a high-end rehab, and they're proposing that the rent for the rental apartment be somewhere between $1,250 and $1,400. Some of the information I emailed to the committee included examples of work they have done in the past. To me, it looked really good, but I don't get a vote. So,
Did the land bank put any money into that property?
we used the bank donated funds, and we used $15,000 of enterprise community funds. And I think we should be able, we might be able to avoid using any land bank funds when you account for the sale amount, the purchase price. And also we were able to get, what was it, Kate, another $8,000 for potential liens that might need to be paid. If those don't need to be paid, I think we're going to be in pretty comfortable territory.
Okay, I haven't had this issue in a while, but I think we should just check, because the minute we use enterprise funds, we might be into a scenario where the rental has to be 80% of the AMI.
Yep.
So let's just check that. That's all. I mean, the 1250 to 1400 could very well be that anyway. You know what I mean? But I remember something in the grant agreement about the AMI with the rental.
Yeah, no, I actually had that thought. That's why I mentioned it, Kate.
Yeah. So we should probably just check that. And it may very well be there's no requirement, but I think there's something sticking in my brain.
I think the requirement is that 80% of all rental units that EC has any money in has to be to 80% of AMI.
Yeah, so we have to check to see if those numbers work. Because the whole point of it, it needs to be affordable, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So one other thing that is not on this, RPI is interested in this building for as one of their studio projects. I mentioned to, well, Brian, you know Gustavo. I mentioned to Gustavo, who's one of the key members of the RPI group, that we have a purchase application, and I didn't get an email response from him. We don't have anything from either Habitat or from RPI. And actually, in my conversations with Gustavo, the purchase of this property, if it were to come under RPI control, would actually be through a not-for-profit yet to be developed. So, so I wanted to mention that to you. It's, I'm not sure how to address that. We have a purchase application that we need to give a reply to. Folks at RPI have an interest but it doesn't sound like they're going to be able to come forward anytime soon. So I just wanted you guys to have that information as you deliberate this.
Isn't this the one that fell apart? That was supposed to be the learning center one?
The one with Media Alliance?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the one that Steve Pierce submitted a grant application for, and he sounded hopeful and thought he'd get it, but it didn't come through.
Yeah, I remember all that. That's why I'm just thinking, like, I'm not sure we put any, just to go back a little bit, I'm not sure we have any enterprise funds into that one because they gave us so much, but we might have a little bit because of the parapet, repair.
Yeah.
Yep. And that might be the only thing, but I don't want to step on RPI's toes and on that project, but I haven't seen any progression with them, and with COVID and the students coming back to school, I'm not exactly, Brian might be able to correct me when that program could really get started. Did I lose everybody?
No, I heard you. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Sorry,
Brian.
I was on mute. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
The RPI program already started, but they're not to the place where they're ready to do any construction yet. So I wouldn't let RPI deter a good, reasonable offer on the property. It hasn't moved forward enough to say that, okay, they're planning a construction project yet. So until it gets to that point, I think it's all up for grabs.
Okay. I'm with everything that you forwarded over. I'm okay with the and as long as I said earlier, as long as Kate's okay with it, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I'm personally okay with it as well.
Yes, as long as, those stipulations that Kate mentioned are included, I think it's fine too.
Tony, do you have a sense whether he's putting his own labor into it? If I'm looking at that $50 per square foot cost. Is that including his own labor, or is that just something?
I think the fact that they're saying it's going to take them 2 years, and also the fact that they own their own contracting company, it sounds to me like it's going to be a kind of a combination of sweat equity. It's going to be a combination of sweat equity and use of their whatever contracting resources they have through their business.
Right.
That's the most logical.
Are we thinking, like, per Kate's comments, that we want to shorten it to 18 months? To go back to him with 18 months? Or are we just going to let it go at 2 years? I know you were discussing that. I didn't know where we landed, though.
I thought that was one of the contingencies, no?
Kate's on mute.
Oh.
Not sure. What I thought it would say was we could give them 24 months, but she'd like to push them to 18. Is that what I heard you say, Kate?
Yeah, 18 is one of those positions where, because of the amount of work that has to be done, and considering, we're still kind of in COVID, I think for the record, you could say, all those considerations taken into account, that you're comfortable with that, but they should understand that, that's really a drop dead date, and we really need them to try to finish by then.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with that too.
Okay.
So what am I hearing? I hear a motion going together, but I just want to be sure I'm clear on what the...
Yeah, so we need a motion to approve the sale of the properties 33, 25, 6, and 24 McClellan, to make a recommendation for sale to the board.
Well,
But I also have stipulations.
And we haven't gone through McLean, right?
Well, when you get there.
All right, so now I'm
Yeah.
confused. What's the issue?
I'm happy to make a motion for 3325 for its sale. With the
I don't think
18
we've,
months.
I don't think we've discussed the McClellan property yet, just the 6th Avenue.
Correct.
Okay,
Okay.
with the
But
contingency,
I think, yeah.
with the contingency for 18 months.
Yep.
18 months from
Yes.
closing.
Okay,
18
Yes,
months
I
from
make,
closing.
I second.
Okay, so that's the only stipulation?
well, yeah, I mean, as far as the board's concerned, the 18 months, I mean, it's going to be contingent on the area variance and their mortgage approval as well, but those are more legal issues than they are terms.
Yeah. No, I just want to be sure that what I write down as a stipulation is what's part of the motion. So we've got a motion by Brian and seconded by Heather. And I have a stipulation 18 months
That is correct.
completion from closing.
Jeanette and I are tied for the second.
You win.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
Kate
sorry.
won. Oh, sorry. Heather won.
No, it's all you, Jeanette.
Good.
Okay, I guess this
So,
is where we are.
Did we do an all in favor?
Yeah. How about I say all in favor, say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Okay, I hear 3-0, motion passes.
yep.
Okay. So, want to jump into 24 McClelland?
Sure.
Okay,
Yes,
this
I'm going
one,
to put you on mute though, because I'm in transit and I don't want you to hear my navigation yelling at me. So I'll mute it when it's.
okay, drive safe. Keep it down to 1,000. So 24 McClelland Avenue, I was a little bit apprehensive to put this on the agenda because the application materials were really coming in, like I said earlier in the meeting, in spits and spats. But having said that, out of the dozen pieces of information that have been floating out there, I think when it all gets put together, the information that an application would require is there. Their real estate broker emailed me a new application a couple of hours ago. I didn't forward it to the committee because I knew you wouldn't have time to look at it. And I took a brief look at it and I thought I saw a couple of minor issues. So I suggested in a couple of emails that the committee might want to make a determination if you want to review this application at this point at all, or if you want to deliberate on it despite the information being kind of, all over the place. It's there, it's just not in a central location.
So Tony, can I ask you a question? Did
Sure.
you review the application and do you find that it would be, does it check all the boxes for being an appropriate candidate as far as owner occupancy, or did I see that he's planning on flipping it?
Yeah, that's a stickler for me.
Yeah, so here, to answer your first question, Heather, I really do believe that all the bits and pieces of information that I have, when put together in one application, would constitute a complete application. It's just not in the format it should be. So again, if the committee has a problem with that, then no need to review it. I'll come back when we have everything the way
I don't have a problem with that. It's as long as you put all the pieces together, it's complete, and we have the information to make a good decision. But I wasn't aware that we were flipping, like selling them to flip.
Okay.
I don't
so
want to
here,
kill a really good sale, but
on that, the original application said the applicant would be an owner occupant, and I talked to the real estate agent and said, look, if he's really going to say he's going to live here for 5 years, he really needs to do that. But as I say that, I'm now thinking back to, let me stop. This has no enterprise funding in it, Kate. So I'm not sure if the 5-year no flip provision applies.
It does.
Okay.
So here's what I think you should do with this. It's very common in my past experience with other land banks that you get someone who wants to do the rehab and wants to flip it. And what we tend to see here is, okay, the 5 years goes on, but they come to us with the application for the new buyer. And you can stipulate at that point that, is this a 1 or a 2 family?
So 1.
It's a 1.
This is
So
a 1.
at the end of it, you are going to get a homeowner. So you're just really having this person do the work. So that's
So
okay.
I'm okay with that then.
Yeah, so that's okay. That's pretty common. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's almost like a co-development agreement.
Right.
that's exactly what I said to him. Oh, okay, so you're saying he wouldn't actually purchase this. He would just be the GC?
No,
No, he would purchase it, but he'd be doing the work instead of us managing the rehab and the subcontracting work. He's doing all the work and getting it back on the tax roll, and then he would be selling it. But what Kate's saying is that, if I'm understanding, we would have to approve when he sells it, who he sells it to.
Correct.
So it's a flip.
Yes.
It's a flip.
Yeah.
Correct, but we still have a say as a land bank on who it goes to at the end.
And that's
Yeah,
why
and
the
that's-
5-year no flip is on all our properties, because we need to know who's buying it, within that time frame.
After it's rehab.
Yeah.
I'm
And
okay with that. Yep.
That's what I said to the applicant, that, he understands there'd be a provision that this has to be sold to an owner occupant and that they have to agree to live there for 5 years.
Well, the 5 years wouldn't then continue. We usually let that go. And mostly because that new buyer is going to have a homeowner's mortgage on there, and the bank won't let us have that restriction at that point.
Okay.
So while we'll put the 5-year no flip on his property, he needs to just know that when he's got a buyer, he comes back and most likely will, I've never seen one not get approved. But, we have to review this person and make sure that, they're responsible and this isn't going to fall into tax foreclosure again.
That would not be good.
Right. So that's why that's on there.
Okay. So can I go through the details of the application?
Sure.
Okay, I already talked about the fact, you're still on seeing the shared screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we already talked about the flipping. The applicant has pre-approval for, pull this up.
I don't have the shared screen, but I am looking at your spreadsheet that you sent on email.
They had an initial pre-approval from Ameristar Financial, and I received an updated copy of that last night, and I'm going to try to remember this off the top of my head. The pre-approval was for $130,000, which specifies a purchase price of $80,000, which is what is offered in the application. The first pre-approval had a 5% down payment requirement. The most recent one does not. The terms of this is a flippers. I think the website is www.fixandflip.com. So this is a flippers financial package.
Yeah, these are quite common. I've seen these on land bank properties. Another one is Mako International. Usually it's up to 24 months. So it's built for people that need a quick mortgage for rehab and then to flip out and sell it.
Okay. That's what I thought too. I just want to make sure, yeah, you guys understood it. The applicant has as his project timeline 30 days.
Wow.
Not sure how realistic that is, but I did ask if he was going to do the work himself or if it was going to be contracted out. And the inference I got was that it would be, all the work would be contracted out.
Okay.
So again, the offering price is $80,000. It was listed at $93,000. You know what? I also see that the time to complete is 6 to 8 months. So that might have been one of the updates to the application that I didn't catch when I did this. But even 6 to 8 months is within our ordinary 12 months, right, Kate?
Yeah, I think there's a typo, total redevelopment cost. It says 30 days. What's his investment?
Oh, that is a typo. Well, it's a difference between 130,000 and 50,000.
Okay, yeah. So does that seem reasonable for the work that needs to be done on that property?
Let me double check that, Kate. I just want to make sure I'm not lying.
He's allowing it's only $15 a square foot, so unless it's just like a fluff and buff, not going to get you that far.
I'm going to use that phrase in one of my next appraisal reports, Brian.
Fluff and buff.
Yep. I like it.
So the budget he has is $19,000, about $20,000 when you include attorney fees.
So what kind of shape is the property in? Is it, I guess the one thing I'll just point out is, I've seen, and it was very few and far between, but we have people doing rehabs. They were only putting just so much money into it. And then the facade and the interior doesn't change much and it's still in the lousy shape it was. So I would just say, be careful of that. Whatever investment people claim they're making needs to be adequate for what we think is minimum needed at the property, and then some.
Yeah, that was a question I had, and that was, so they provided a narrative, and I circulated that late yesterday afternoon, and also earlier today, when you asked that question earlier today. There are a couple things that I was told verbally that don't show up in their narrative. I think there was probably more omission than anything else. For example, I was told several times that they plan on replacing the driveway or topping off the driveway. I'm not sure which. I'm sure they're going to do that. It's not in the narrative though. There's a big tree in the front yard that needs trimming or removal. That's part of the landscaping. They're going to put in new shrubbery and flowers. They're going to put new siding on the building. They're going to replace the windows. On the interior, they are, gotta think this through.
Just, Tony, it is, when you say they're going to replace the windows, are we talking about, some piece of crap or some reasonable, at least medium quality?
Well, Jeanette, I would hope that if he intends to flip it for a profit, that they'll invest in order to achieve that.
Well, I would
But
too, but
yeah.
how do we, well, all right, it's just,
Yeah, you're right, Jeanette. You'd be surprised, Heather.
yeah, I mean, I can tell you a lot of stuff, but
I know. I've seen a lot of stuff too, where they just do the front windows and the rest of them, They're like, oh yeah, it's got all new windows. And I show up
Yeah.
and do a walk around and I'm like, you have two.
Right.
Siding, there's a big, well, I know you guys.
So
own
is there a
houses.
detailed list, Tony? Like, can we see before, can we make it, like subject to review of a really detailed scope of work for the project?
Yeah.
There's not a really detailed scope of work. There are no cut sheets. There's no real description of the windows, for example. There was
Like how many windows? I mean, like when Johnny Bobo put something together for us, it's like we know how many windows. We know, like, have they done a walkthrough? Because I don't want them to really have any surprises of when they get in there and then they've invested this amount of money and they get in and they start renovating and they run into something and walk away. And we've already gotten paid once, but
There's that, and I need something in the enforcement note and the application to hold them to. You know what I mean? So I need something that says, we can't get into the nitty gritty where, we tell them you can only have these windows, or you've got to spend at least this. And, we don't want to get into that, but we want to at least have a description or a scope of work that I can put in the enforcement note so that if it isn't complete or we're not happy with what it looks like, we can hold them to it and make them fix it.
well, I'm okay with jumping up. I'm okay with jumping on another call, like either at the end of the week or beginning of next week, so we can get this before the board agenda. If they want to get a more detailed scope of work, Tony.
That'd be
Can I
great.
read you what I?
There's a list on the PDF. At the end of the
Okay,
PDF you sent out, Tony, there's a list of work items. It looks underfunded though to me.
That's what I was going to read. So what's specified is replacing siding and doing landscaping, $3,000 in material, $2,000 labor. Trim sheet.
For siding?
What's that?
For siding for the whole house, $3,000.
$3,000
In
in
material.
material, approximately $2,000 in labor.
And that includes landscaping and tree trimming.
Yes.
Is this enough money?
No,
What do
it's
we
not.
just pay for siding on ours?
It's a Cape Cod, so it's a small building.
We have a little house that we're renovating right now in Hoosick Falls, and we just spent $5,000 in materials and $4,000 in labor. And that's to side it.
So
All right, but go ahead.
So he's got also 7 windows that are replaced, approximately 350 windows, total 2,450, approximately 2,000 labor, and remainder of interior funds go towards a new half upstairs, new flooring, new sheetrock, new fixtures, new doors, adding a dishwasher, opening the kitchen to the main living area, complete full bathroom renovation, preserve/refinish existing kitchen cabinets, and add small island or breakfast bar in the kitchen.
And what's the total for that?
What did I say, about $20,000 is what they have in the.
That's significantly underfunded, as Brian would say. But I added significantly.
Yeah.
I thought they were like 130 and 350.
Well, so I'll go back again. They have approval of a loan of up to, it's either 130,000 or 150,000. Let me go back and find it. I apologize.
Well, I apologize that I'm on the road and I don't have the paperwork in front of me. So
I don't even have the spreadsheet anymore.
Come on. Actually, let me go back through my email real quick. Okay, so the commitment letter is for up to $130,000, recognizing a purchase price of $80,000 and renovation of $50,000.
I can believe 50. It's just it's not adding up to 50 in his narrative there.
Yeah, there's about a $30,000 difference. So
Do
would
they
you
have
guys
any
like-
contingency reserves or any additional funds available in case they run over?
Well, if you subtract the balance of the 50,000 from the 20,000, you could say he's got 30,000 in reserves. But it sounds like the 20,000 he's budgeted isn't what the committee feels is enough to do the project.
Right.
So, you know, if you'd like, I could go back and ask them to come up with a more detailed estimate and, you know, better specification of what the work is.
I'd be
gonna entail.
comfortable with that.
Yeah, I think we definitely need some more details. It just sounds, somehow not quite legitimate as is.
Well, you know, to be honest, I'd feel better if you had a solid application.
Well,
Does the
let's
market
ask him for one.
does the market support the $130,000 sale price, or would it be more than that?
That would be
Instead of
as
getting money back?
repaired. Yeah.
Greg just said his guess is 170,000.
Okay.
And actually, that came back in one of the most recent narratives. I think it was 175,000 is what they thought they would list it for after the work is done.
What
Okay.
experience?
All I got was he's done this before, so I didn't get a lot. I didn't get anything really.
They had
So.
addresses to go by or to book to see.
No, it's this application is kind of weird because addresses related to all over the map.
And saw them in the email.
So
I
I
don't
will
understand
say,
you, Tony.
sorry.
Guys,
that's
I have
'cause-
to let you go because I'm getting ready to get off of Route 9 here. But I am, if there's a more solid application, I'm okay with moving forward with the sale as long as the application is just a little tighter and the numbers make a little bit more sense. And I get a sense that it's just they just don't know. The application is kind of confusing. So if it's okay with you, before I lose you, I'm going to go ahead and hang up here.
Would you be in favor of postponing a decision and for a couple of days till we got more detail?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'll definitely jump on that phone call. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
Okay. Me too.
Yeah, totally make myself available. So it sounds like, and I'm sorry, guys. Just I never get good service down here in Kinderhook. So
Get off the phone, Heather.
All right, so I'll get back to them and feedback. So then the other stuff that is really those three properties that I suggested to Kate that we need to take back for lack of any real progress. Jakob Newstout purchased 785 River and 836 River Street from us. And he's done virtually nothing to either property. He's done nothing to 785. The backyard's full of weeds. And also at 836, so they're not even maintaining the grounds. 822 River Street, we sold to, I can never say her name, Razakowski.
Mm-hmm.
And she went in to 822 River Street, which is a big building, and she did gut it out. But that appears to be the only thing she's done in about a year. Kate has sent mail to both of these applicants. I have tried to contact them by email, by phone, by text, and I haven't received any reply back from either one of them, which sounds to me like they were trying to avoid us. So Kate felt this is something that A&D needed to take up. Kate, do you think A&D just needs to take action, or should the board as well?
Well, here's my recommendation at this point. And the reason why I wanted it to come to the committee and then, you make a recommendation to the board is I'm recommending we take the first steps of litigation. They failed to deliver a deed in lieu despite our demand. So I'm looking for board approval to commence an action to recover the property. To get a declaratory judgment on the right of reverter and breach of contract, among other things. What I would do right before doing that, though, is, I want to get a board resolution that says, you're authorizing litigation to recover these properties, send a final letter with that resolution stating, hey, the board has voted to take legal action against you. You have, 3 business days to contact us to turn over a deed in lieu of foreclosure, or we are going to commence an action in Rensselaer County Supreme Court to recover the property. Most of the time that'll do it. And at this point, coming back to us with I'm going to send you a plan and I'm going to get going, we're way beyond that. This is a year or 2 out from when they purchased. They've done nothing. They haven't reported anything. And, for enforcement purposes, for AG purposes, Syracuse was audited on this. We have to be enforcing these, and we don't want it to get away from ourselves. So should they not respond within that 3 days, I would have a board resolution in my pocket to begin just drafting the complaint and filing that and serving it on them. Generally speaking, the ones that I have brought for other land banks have been successful. They've settled before any, real issues came about. If they decide to settle after we sue, we have the right to collect all your attorney's fees and costs as well. So that's my recommendation at this point. We've done our best. We've worked with other folks that have, been responsive to us, but I just don't think these people are going to understand anything less than taking a big step like this.
Okay, what does the typical settlement look like?
We get the property back by deed in lieu. They pay all closing costs. They pay your attorney's fees for the litigation. They pay the closing costs to return the property, and we get the property back. I would have to do a title search prior to commencing the litigation just to make sure that when we are successful in getting it back, that there's no liens or taxes or any other encumbrances. If there are, then we make them pay those as well. And if they're not willing to pay all those costs, we will make a judge make them pay those costs by an order. So one way or another, they would be paying all of it, and we get the property back.
Wow.
And how long does that take?
The one that I had in Albany Supreme, it takes probably a good 2 weeks just to get it drafted, filed, and then it's got to get served. And then they have 20 days to answer. And after that, it's either settlement discussions or motion practice. So I would say minimum 60 to 90. And if they push it out to a court order, I'd have to make a motion on my papers. It could be another 60 days. So up to 6 months, but none of them have gone that long. I pretty much settled everyone within 60 days. Once that action was filed, they knew that we weren't playing. So.
Yeah. Okay.
And any settlement that comes back, would be presented to the board. I wouldn't have that authority by myself to just say, oh yeah, great. It may very well be that they say, well, we'll pay the attorney's fees and costs, and you can have the property back, but we just don't have the $6,000 in taxes. So, that's a discussion among this committee of, how do we feel about, all of that and a potential settlement, or do we want to push forward to judgment where we will recover all of it? So that would definitely come back to you.
Yep. Now that seems like a reasonable time frame to get control of the property back. Because, I mean, you don't want it to be tied up for forever, because the whole point is to get it back into someone's hands to develop it, right? So.
Right. And quite frankly, this is a new world, especially in law, in that let's say the fall comes and they shut things down again, right? So the court is not going to take anything but essential filings. So, if the board decides this month to, approve court action, I would try to move as fast as I can, at least to get it filed, because if the court turns around and says there's a stay, you could be sitting on that property another 6 to 12 months because we can't do anything. So, yeah.
Seems reasonable.
I'm good with everything you've said. So.
Me too.
All right. So the recommendation from your committee will be then at the board meeting, that we move to enforce this and approve suit against the current owners.
Yes.
Okay.
The 6 unit, after they got denied to go to 12 units, they went back. They had to redraft everything to renovate it as a 6 unit building. And they submitted everything to code enforcement for review for issuance of a permit. And that was right when COVID started up. So I'm not sure where it stands right now, to be honest. So Greg was asking what was going on with the 6 unit on 7th Ave. So guys, we've got a couple executive committee members who are probably waiting.
Yeah.
Do you want us to keep through this agenda, or do you want to stop here?
I could make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Tony, do you feel you need to get through it? We could just get back on exec, and you can present the rest of the agenda there if you want to.
Well, I'm just kind of thinking about Suzanne and Sharon, who are probably
Yeah,
waiting.
Heather just asked me too, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The other stuff on the agenda is to go through updates on projects and updates on properties. That's going to take time. Okay.
So, I mean, if anybody had anything specifically about any property, maybe that's the thing. I can tell you what I know.
Tony, would it be possible just for you to send us the property update?
Yep.
Is it on your spreadsheet?
Yeah, I updated that about a week or so ago, and I never got it circulated, so I apologize for that. But I'll update it again, and I'll get it out. You make that big star.
Are there any special problems that you want us to know about, or no?
791 River Street. I went to look at the property last week. I couldn't get into the interior, but I didn't see any progress on the exterior. I talked to the architect today. He's going to give me an updated schedule by the end of this week, which I need because we have to extend our builder's risk insurance, and they're only allowing us one last extension. The siding was supposed to have gone up starting last week, and I'm told there's been a delay in delivery. It's supposed to be delivered tomorrow. And I'm told that a big reason why there's been delays is that because a lot of folks are on unemployment and making more unemployment than they would working, a lot of laborers are not around to get work done. So that's the short and sweet of what I was told. I was told that they have been working on the interior stairs, so there's been progress on the inside that I haven't been able to see yet. So 791 River, and on it goes.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's much even contractually we can do about that because COVID's making it impossible for them to perform.
No, that sounds reasonable. Do you know if they're like hanging doors and is it all taped inside?
Oh.
Is it like,
The interior taped and painted. And that was, probably 3 weeks ago.
are doors hung? Flooring down?
Doors weren't hung when I saw it 3 weeks ago, Brian.
Yeah.
They did not say that was done. He said they've been working on the stairwells to get those finished.
Yep. Okay.
I'll try
Okay,
to and send some photos out to everyone.
Or you could schedule a walkthrough, Tony.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah, that's how I'm going to get interior pictures. So yeah, I'll do that.
Should we jump off and jump on for the rest of the exec committee?
I heard a motion to adjourn by Jeanette, but I didn't hear a second.
I'll second.
Thought you would.
All righty.
All right, I'll call back in a minute.
Okay, so adjourned at
All right.
4:42. All right.
Bye-bye.
So you don't have.
Do you need phone?
Bye, Jeanette. I'm gonna
Bye-bye.
click out.